In this video, we're going to talk about whether you should get life insurance and if it's worth it. So hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you stay up to date on when new videos come out. Retirement isn't the only thing you need to plan. If for some reason you don't live to the ripe old age of 120, what happens to those you leave behind? In some cases, a good life insurance policy can make a big difference to your survivors. But life insurance isn't for everyone. In fact, in some cases, it may not be a wise idea to get life insurance. If you want to even begin to ballpark the cost of life insurance, you can answer super quick questions. It takes a maximum of about a few minutes to answer, to get a few quotes to determine how much life insurance will cost you and how much coverage you'll get. So is life insurance worth it? If you have dependents, life insurance may be worth the premiums you'll pay. It helps you have peace of mind knowing that your spouse, children, and anyone else who relies on your income will be taken care of if you die. If you don't have dependents, there still may be circumstances where it's worth it, but you should do the calculations to make sure you're getting value for your money. Many people complain about insurance payments. While they pay life insurance premiums every month, there's little chance their families will ever get a life insurance payout. Many are frustrated by the aspect of life insurance that makes it so unappealing to most people. If the policy never gets used, the payments seem like wasted money. If it does get used, the payout will be little consolation in the face of overwhelming grief. It's good to think that it's not buying a policy as much as buying peace of mind. They can rest easy knowing that if something happens to them, they've done all they could to help with financially protecting their family. That's what all insurance really is, a measure of protection to make you feel better. So then who needs life insurance? Some experts advise those without dependents to skip life insurance, but that can vary. Here are a few groups who might need to consider life insurance. 1. Those with dependents. Having life insurance is almost always a necessity if you're a parent, unless you have significant savings in the bank or a large retirement account. Kids are expensive, and raising them on one person's salary can be almost impossible. There are too many sad stories out there about families who had a great life until one parent died, forcing them to downsize just to scrape by. If you're not worried about passing away before your time, think about how you'd feel if your children could no longer afford to go to summer camp or after-school activities. That's what life insurance is for, so your loved ones won't have to suffer any more than they have to when you die. It's especially important to buy life insurance for both parents, even if one person stays at home. Consider this: if you stay at home with your children, your partner will have to pay for childcare when you're gone. In many cases, that can cost nearly as much as a full salary. 2. Those with partners. Life insurance agents will explain that it is really for those couples looking to replace their income when they die so their partner or dependents aren't stranded. But for single people without dependents, term life insurance may not be the best option. There are still benefits people who fall into this category can apply for, such as whole life insurance, which can provide a low amount of coverage for funeral costs at a reasonable rate. Most agents do recommend buying life insurance if you share a mortgage with someone. It can be extremely difficult to sell a house quickly if you need the money, and a life insurance policy can help your loved ones make mortgage payments if they decide to stay in the house. If you own your home outright and don't have kids, then you may not need a policy. Remember, having life insurance is not just about having a cushy windfall in case your loved one passes away. It's about protecting your family and their assets so you don't have to drastically change your lifestyle if disaster strikes. So then who doesn't need life insurance? For one, those without dependents. Some experts advise those without dependents to skip life insurance, but that can vary from one case to another. In the event something happens, will you leave behind loved ones who will need to make funeral arrangements and tie up any financial loose ends? A life insurance policy can help as they sell your assets and take care of any debts that can't be excused, but only you can determine if that's necessary. Before you purchase a policy though, check to see if there might be another way to get that same results. Instead of paying premiums into a policy that will issue a payout, you may instead want to put some money in a trust and a will to direct where the money will go after you're gone. Number 2, children. Buying life insurance for your children or other dependents may be unnecessary, since they're usually not bringing in any income. Remember, term life insurance is to replace someone's income, but a child doesn't provide any money to the household. An alternative of purchasing life insurance, invest money in a 529 plan for their college fund or save a bigger emergency fund. Either will provide better returns than a life insurance policy. So let's talk about if you don't need life insurance, should you go with term life insurance? There are 2 types of life insurance, permanent and term. Whole life is the most expensive type of permanent insurance, and there are other types that aren't super expensive and have premiums very similar to term. Because these policies are permanent, they're far more expensive than term life insurance. They're far more expensive than a term life policy, sometimes as much as 10 times the cost. A term life policy can be bought for a series of 10, 20, or even 30 years. Most people buy a policy to cover them until they retire, their mortgage is paid off, or their children are grown. That's why a term policy can be better than whole, because it only covers the amount of time you actually need life insurance. People who choose whole life often do so because of the cash benefit that builds up in a whole policy. That's another reason why term can be more highly recommended. When buying a policy, you can sometimes forego the medical exam, but doing so will sometimes get you higher rates. So when should you consider purchasing life insurance? Many consumers make the mistake of assuming they don't need life insurance because they're young. While the likelihood of an event is lower when you're younger, that doesn't mean something can't happen. In fact, the top reason experts recommend buying life insurance when you're young is that typically is priced lower for younger consumers. The biggest thing to consider when weighing life insurance options is the impact your untimely death would have. Will your dependents have enough money coming in to continue their current lifestyle? Determine how much they would need for the foreseeable future when deciding on the amount of coverage to buy. So when shouldn't you buy life insurance? While the decision is ultimately up to you, you may not see the same benefits from a life insurance policy if you have no dependents. If your death would not financially impact others, there are better ways to ensure your funeral expenses and final debts can be easily settled. Instead of life insurance, take the same money you'd spend on life insurance and save it or invest it. If you're concerned about risk, put the funds in a savings account or CD. But if you're comfortable putting your funds into investments with a higher risk, you can make sure you have the assets to settle your debts as well as pay for final expenses without having to pay premiums to an insurance company. So then what should you consider when deciding which type of life insurance you need? When shopping around for a life insurance policy, here are a few things to consider. 1. Cost of premiums. The cost of premiums varies by age and insurer. Annual premiums for those under 35 range in the 300s, which is around $30 per month. If you smoke, it is definitely higher. Price around and get multiple quotes to make sure you're getting the best deal. Number 2, length of term. If you're signing up for term life, the term length comes into play. Policies usually range from 10 to 30 years. The longer the term, the higher your rates are likely to be. Insurers know that during a 30-year term, a policyholder is more likely to die than during a 10-year term, so rates increase to compensate for that. Number 3, policy adjustments. Most often you'll find that once a policy is purchased, you've committed to that policy for the duration. But some companies allow you more flexibility. Some online insurers allow you to adjust your coverage in either direction at any time. You can also cancel without question. This type of provider may offer the flexibility you're seeking. Number 4, application requirements. Life insurers will want some information on you before qualifying you for a policy. You'll likely be asked to provide details about your health and lifestyle. Traditionally, a quick medical exam has always been required, but that might be done at home, utilizing a traveling medical professional. Some newer insurers use data analytics to determine your insurability, letting you skip the exam requirements altogether. Number 5, policy turnaround time. On average, you can expect to wait 3 to 8 weeks to get a policy after your initial application. But the emergence of online insurers means you may be able to shorten that time. Some insurers can have a life insurance policy in your inbox within a few days of application. So in the end, an insurance agent likely won't tell you this, but not everyone needs a life insurance. If you're considering buying a policy, make sure you do your research before signing up. You could end up paying more than you have to for coverage you really don't need otherwise. But if you do have dependents, a term life policy could give you peace of mind knowing your loved ones will be taken care of in the event the worst thing happens. So what are your thoughts? Do you plan to get life insurance? Is it going to be term or whole life insurance? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below and let's get a discussion started. And as always, take care of your money. Oh, and one last thing before you go. I created a course called Smart Money Parenting as a way to teach parents how to educate their kids about money. An early financial education is the foundation for wealth building, so give your kids a future they deserve. Use code MONEY20 at checkout to receive 20% off my master course. I'll leave a link to the course down below.